All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know how it is these days? It seems like everywhere you turn, someone's talking about doom scrolling.
Yeah, it's definitely become a bit of a buzzword, hasn't it?
It really has. And for good reason, too. I mean, we've all been there, right? Endlessly scrolling through social media or news feeds, feeling increasingly anxious or overwhelmed.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why we're diving into Stop Doom Scrolling today, a book by Michelle Gruening filled with over 200 mindfulness activities that promise to help us get off our phones and back to living our lives.
You had me at get off our phones. I'm so ready for this.
Well, Michelle Gruening really emphasizes that it's not about ditching technology altogether, but rather about becoming more mindful and intentional about how we use it.
Which is a huge relief because, let's be real, our phones are pretty much extensions of ourselves at this point.
They are indeed, but the key takeaway here is that we have the power to choose how and when we engage with them.
And that's where these 200 activities come in, right?
Exactly. Gruening provides a ton of practical and accessible ideas for replacing those mindless scrolling habits with activities that nourish our minds and bodies.
I am so intrigued. Give me the highlights. What are some of the key strategies she suggests?
Well, she outlines 5 main strategies. The first one is all about setting time limits for yourself, like actually scheduling in device-free time each day.
Which sounds a lot easier said than done, but I'm willing to try.
And she acknowledges that it's not always easy, but even small steps can make a difference, like starting with just 30 minutes a day without your phone.
Okay, I can do that. What's next?
The second strategy focuses on engaging in physical activities, which we know can do wonders for our mental and emotional well-being.
So we're talking exercise, getting outdoors, that kind of thing.
Exactly, and it doesn't have to be anything too strenuous. Even just going for a walk or doing some gentle stretching can help to shift our focus and release some of that pent-up energy.
That makes a lot of sense. What about the third strategy?
The third one is all about mindfulness, which is such a crucial aspect of combating doom scrolling.
I can see how that would be helpful, but what does mindfulness actually look like in practice?
Well, it can take many forms. Gruening suggests things like meditation, deep breathing exercises, or simply paying attention to the present moment through our senses.
So like really savoring that first cup of coffee in the morning instead of scrolling through emails?
Exactly. Or taking a moment to appreciate the beauty of nature during your lunch break. It's all about bringing our awareness to the here and now.
And hopefully reducing that urge to constantly check our phones.
Precisely now, the fourth strategy is all about creating device-free zones in your home or workspace.
So like designating the bedroom as a no-phone zone.
That's a great example, and it can also apply to things like meal times or family time. Creating those sacred spaces where technology is off limits allows us to truly connect with ourselves and the people around us.
And speaking of connection, that brings us to the fifth strategy, right?
You got it. The fifth and final strategy emphasizes connecting with others in person, which is so important for our overall well-being.
It is. But in today's world, it can be so easy to let those face-to-face interactions fall by the wayside.
It can, and that's why Gruening encourages us to prioritize real-world connections, whether it's scheduling regular coffee dates with friends, joining a local club, or simply striking up conversations with people in our community.
I love that emphasis on community. I think
Yeah.
that's something we've lost sight of in the digital age.
I agree, and the book reminds us that those genuine human connections are vital for our happiness and fulfillment.
Speaking of happiness, one thing that really stood out to me in the book was the concept of micro-adventures.
Ah, yes, those little bursts of novelty and exploration that can inject so much joy into our lives.
It sounds amazing, but I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what qualifies as a micro-adventure.
Well, it can be anything that takes you out of your comfort zone and exposes you to something new. It could be as simple as trying a new restaurant in a different part of town or visiting a nearby park you've never been to before.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be some grand expedition.
Not at all. The point is to break free from routine and embrace a sense of adventure in your everyday life.
I love that. And Gruening also talks about the importance of creative activities, right?
She does, and she highlights a wide range of options from things like doodling and mindful photography to creating nature art and even just playing with clay.
I'm sensing a theme here of getting out of our heads and into our bodies.
Exactly. Those hands-on activities allow us to engage different parts of our brains tap into our creativity and find moments of calm and focus.
It sounds like a much-needed antidote to the constant mental stimulation of our digital world.
It definitely is, and she also includes some really practical mindfulness techniques that we can use in our daily lives.
Like what?
Well, one of my favorites is the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise, which is a great way to bring ourselves back to the present moment when we're feeling overwhelmed or anxious.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does it work?
It's super simple. You just take a moment to notice 5 things. You can see 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste.
That's brilliant. It's like a mini sensory meditation.
Exactly, and it only takes a few minutes, but it can really help to ground us and shift our focus away from those racing thoughts.
I'm definitely going to try that one.
What else?
Another technique she suggests is cloud watching, which might sound a little too zen for some, but it's actually a really effective way to practice mindfulness.
Okay, I'm willing to give it a try. How does cloud watching even qualify as a mindfulness technique?
It's all about finding a comfortable spot, gazing up at the sky, and simply observing the clouds as they drift by without judgment or attachment.
So kind of like a meditation on impermanence?
Precisely.
Right.
And it can be surprisingly calming and even a bit awe-inspiring to witness the ever-changing nature of the clouds.
I can see how that would be a nice contrast to the often static and repetitive nature of our digital feeds.
And speaking of finding things to appreciate, Gruening also talks about the power of gratitude.
Yes, the gratitude jar. That's such a simple yet powerful concept. It really is, and the book encourages us to make it a daily practice, to write down things we're grateful for and place them in a jar so we can revisit those moments of appreciation whenever we need a little boost.
It's like creating a tangible reminder of all the good in our lives.
And the science backs it up too. Studies have shown that practicing gratitude can lead to increased happiness, reduced stress, and improved overall well-being.
So for those of us feeling overwhelmed by the digital world and all its demands, what's one small step we can take today to start reclaiming our time and attention?
I think the most important thing is to choose just one activity or technique that resonates with you and commit to trying it out for a week, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Like maybe setting a timer to limit your social media use, or trying that 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise we talked about earlier.
Those are great examples, and remember, the key is to be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Don't expect to transform your habits overnight. Just focus on making small, consistent changes and celebrate those victories along the way.
Excellent advice. And if you're looking for more inspiration and guidance, be sure to check out Stop Doom Scrolling by Michelle Gruening. It's chock full of practical ideas and activities to help you break free from the digital vortex and rediscover the joy of living in the real world.
And one final thought for you to ponder. What small step can you take today to reduce your doom scrolling and engage more fully with the world around you?